so that if there is some leakage, then it doesn't get on the chair, because trust me, I had to clean upholstery several times before it dawned on me. Hey there, welcome back. I'm Brenda with Caregivers Collective. If you're new to incontinence care, today's episode is just for you. I'm going to walk you through some of the essential must-have products. These are the ones that I use for my dad to help with his incontinence care. So I remember standing in the drugstore and not knowing the different types of, incontinence briefs and what the hell are Chux and booster pads and all of that stuff. What was really frustrating about not knowing the different incontinence products is that I spent money that we didn't have, because incontinence products can get really expensive. You don't want to buy the wrong thing, and you want to make sure that you're maximizing the products that you do have and using them efficiently. Let's get right into it. We all know it, we all like it, baby wipes. You can call them baby wipes, you can call them adult wipes, whatever it is, you know what I'm talking about. Disposable wipes that you use once and throw out. These are gonna be your workhorse for incontinence care. I personally recommend finding fragrance-free baby wipes. Either shop at Costco or Walmart or somewhere where you can buy them in bulk. This particular one, and I know you're seeing it backwards, but I'm putting the image right here so you can see exactly which one this is. See, you can it comes out foamy. I use this, in his nether regions, and then I sometimes go in with a baby wipe and just kind of wipe up the extra foam. And see, if you just kind of rub it together, it's gone. And it doesn't feel really sticky. I mean, there's a little bit of tackiness there, but it's not bad at all. The first one I ever bought was actually a spray, but the only issue was when he was standing up and I'm spraying his backside, the bottle tilts and then you're not able to, sometimes the liquid isn't coming out of the spray bottle. Look for something that says no sticky residue or fragrance free, or if your loved one has more sensitive skin, then look for something with aloe vera or some other calming ingredient. These are bath sponges, and you'll see they look like a dryer sheet. They're a little bit thick, and literally all you do is add a little bit of water and then start, agitating it a little bit like this, and then this foams up really nicely. And this would be perfect if your loved one is a fall risk and you need to bathe them, but you're nervous about getting them into a shower or the bathtub. I would say a whole sheet would be good for their entire body. Sometimes what I do is cut it in half, because if you're just freshening up the, their privates area, then you really just need a half. There's a lot. This foams up really well, and so you don't need a whole sheet if you're just doing, front and back. My other tip with these is to have them in stock. You're probably not going to need them. Your loved one can probably still shower, but it's better to have something on hand should anything happen, instead of having to scramble around in case, if they had a fall and now all of a sudden they can't get to the shower. It's a good idea to just have these on hand. We weren't using it at first, and then I started to notice that his skin was getting irritated around his hip area. So I really like this one. It's a little bit on the thicker side. It's got some zinc oxide, which is very calming for the skin, but I'll just put a little bit, see, right here, and then you can see how, it's thicker. And you want to put this on because that moisture, or whether it's from urine or sweat, the moisture starts to irritate their skin. And so you really want to make sure that you have a good barrier cream to put down there. Get something with zinc oxide, because that is very calming for the skin and gets rid of any redness or, irritation. Gloves. These are non-negotiable. Keep a box of these in your loved one's room when it's time to do incontinence care. My big tip with these is to make sure that your hands are as dry as possible when you go to put them on, because if they're wet, they end up getting stuck. And if you've got incontinence emergency, every second counts. Look on places like Amazon, Walmart, Costco. These were a game changer for me, the Chux pads, aka Underpads. This is what you would put on the bed so that your loved one isn't having any accidents on the sheets and you don't find yourself doing so much laundry. See? And then they lay on top of this. Gather it, throw it in the trash, and you're done. My tip for the Chux pads, and I've learned this the hard way, make sure you have a Chux pad underneath, maybe a blanket if you don't necessarily want this to be showing, out in the living room, so that if there is some leakage, then it doesn't get on the chair, because trust me, I had to clean upholstery several times before it dawned on me to put a Chux pad in the area where he sits. Okay, so booster pads. I only learned what these were about not even 9 months ago, but these are a game changer. It looks like a maxi pad, and these go inside the brief that your loved one is wearing. The purpose of it is exactly why it's called a booster pad. It provides extra absorption. Funny story with these. His Medi-Cal covers some of the incontinence products. So this last time that we placed the order, something got screwed up and they sent us female booster pads. But I'm not one to waste anything, so we're using them. They're working fine and they fit in the brief. So yeah, and see, they'll kind of open up like this and there's adhesive backing. And so you would put that inside the brief. These are really good to have, especially overnight. So my tip for the booster pads is to get them. I mean, seriously, when we first started on this incontinence care journey, I didn't know about these and we were having to purchase briefs and briefs and briefs. You'd be surprised how much less your loved one goes through the disposable briefs if they have the booster pad in. Now onto disposable pull-on briefs. So these are usually what you think of when you hear of incontinence care. I personally don't like to call them adult diapers. There's something about the word diapers that just makes it sound like they're only for babies. So in an effort to talk about incontinence care for an adult with a little bit more, respect, I like to refer to these as briefs. So my tip here is to stretch out the waistband with your hands like this, and then also stretch out the legs before you're going to put them on your loved one. The seam rips easily. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, you have to stretch them carefully so that they don't, the seam doesn't rip. It comes in handy sometimes to have the seam rip, because see how easily they rip? If for some reason your loved one is having maybe a mobility issue, or they're just exhausted and they can't necessarily stand up for you to take the brief off, then when they're laying down, you can rip the side off and be able to take the brief off like that. You're going to notice these little ribs right here. If you kind of go like this with your fingers, it's happened to me before, where your finger kind of goes through the rib and then it rips and then you have to throw it out. These come in different absorbencies, and you and your loved one will need to make the call about which is the right one. My other tip is don't purchase a bunch of them at the same time. It's just like with clothing, one brand's small or medium is going to be different than another brand's small or medium. So if you're not quite sure what size to get, my recommendation would be to see if you can order a sample of the one you want to try, or maybe just get a pack of 10 if possible. You and your loved one can determine if that's the right size, and if it is, then go for it and buy in bulk. But don't buy in bulk if you don't for sure know the size. These are tab style disposable briefs. These are really going to be for someone who is bedbound or has severe mobility issues. I wish I could tell you more about these. I don't have experience putting these on. I'm sure you can find another video that explains how to put these on. In a lot of ways, it's similar to the pull-up brief in that you're going to find different sizes, you're going to find different absorbencies, and again, don't buy a lot of the same type of brief if you're not quite sure what size your loved one is going to wear for that particular brand. So if you want to see all of these products that I've mentioned with photos and just plain English explaining what they are and what they cost, I'm including a link to my free Incontinence Care Supply guide in the description. Before you go, if you found this helpful, please subscribe. I have new episodes coming out every Tuesday. And with that, I'll see you next week.